Hey, this is Andrew Kooman. Did you know that you can now listen to The 49 on Unveil TV? Unveil TV is a place where you can watch what inspires you, like the Breath of Life series featuring innovators like Dallas Jenkins, or you can also check out She Has a Name, the film based on my popular stage play. There's other great documentaries and films, and now you can listen to The 49 there as well. Go to unveiltv.com today and get your free trial. That's unveiltv.com. Thanks for listening. Now here's the latest episode of The 49.
49. The last president inaugurated in the United States. The span of terrible days after the global comms blackout when the world was reshaped. The number of strange supernatural phenomena that appear around the globe. You're listening to The 49, the new series by Andrew Kooman. Get the content right in your inbox when you subscribe at the49.substack.com. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Welcome to the world of The 49.
Diez sat alone in the car. The world around him was a blur of green and gray. The lush land of what used to be called California was green outside the window he faced. He looked west, and behind him was the gray cement wall that towered over the boundary line that separated Corridor West from the outside world. It wasn't too long ago when a trip like this wasn't safe. Before the wall, when chaos ruled, the preppers predicted a 70% population reduction if there was a grid-wide blackout in the United States in a year. Even they were wrong. It took about 12 weeks. No one was really sure what happened, exactly, since the main satellite constellation was taken out, and it wasn't just power, but comms that went dark for most of the world. Militia fiefdoms emerged between the corridors and battled for dominance. While clear regional winners established themselves, they soon forged alliances that became known as the Surge. The social media prophets and conspiracy theorists warning the world that transnational elites were taking over the world weren't totally wrong. They weren't entirely right. Europe was captured by so many decades of self-flagellating policy. Their birth rate, which they treated like a golf score, lowering it year over year, put them in the perfect position for takeover. Anything that would reverse the trend toward doom. Wealthy elites filled the void. But in North America, it wasn't so much a decades-long plan hatched in rooms furnished by minimalist designers at European conferences that was enacted overnight. It was fast-acting billionaires who read the room and were able to mobilize, who convinced fellow billionaires they needed to act quickly to protect social collapse. Do what was wrong to do what was right. Like every heroic antagonist on every popular action film, the humanist values the West was accustomed to were temporarily abandoned. But they were aware they could quickly return to and restore liberal values and perhaps build an ideal world. Once order was restored. That's what we all told ourselves. What we had to believe, Diez thought as he watched the new world blur by from his seat. Their power was protected by the very security apparatus, so enmeshed in the state since 9/11. But the security state wasn't smart enough to seize total power. They had the idea, but didn't have the brains to pull it off. Nerds ascended. Autists with the tech knowledge. The kids who learned to code instead of playing baseball made the difference, and maybe even saved the world. It could have been a nuclear holocaust, but balance of high tech and military power made a safer, freer world. At least in Corridor West. After the darkness, the dystopian future humanity feared through all its speculative fiction. Turns out, needed engineers who found a way to co-rule without falling completely and stereotypically into fascist or totalitarian nightmares. Blockchain. The marriage of cottage industry to high-tech manufacturing, basic income, paid and abundant housing as a result of the population purge. All these things made a sort of utopia. Then Operation Space Nuke changed everything. It took the threat of nuclear war off the table, for good. Just not in time to save Paris or Beijing. Diez was about to enter the main tunnel, where the loop would really pick up speed and shuttle him back to his home base at 49. His mind matched the velocity of the train. But it didn't move in a straight line. It spun in circles. And his heart, it beat fast. Confession day always put him through the paces. His mind would walk through the timeline of the recent past, as though by working through what happened, he could stop it. It was as futile as stepping onto the track of the loop to stop the fast-moving train. He knew he did it to push away the intimate moments of the confessions. Most often he was a punching bag in those small rooms. The landing place for the turmoil and grief of the hardened hearts and even harder souls who were about to die. Men and women whose crimes were egregious and needed justice. He looked for ways to listen, to share a word of grace. The inside pocket of his jacket seemed to burn. He relived the moments after he stepped out of the chamber with the man. He'd felt spent. Jonas, as it turned out, was a talker. He learned the man's name over the course of his confession and much about his life. He took his time, and Diez couldn't blame him. If it was his last earthly conversation, he knew he might run out the clock too. Of course, the efficient production team put a cap on the time. 1 hour was the maximum, and Jonas filled it. So when Diez exited the booth after blessing the man and committing his soul to God, he was exhausted. The production manager was waiting with her clipboard, but she was holding up a crucifix. Diez instinctively reached for his neck. It was still there, against his sternum. As he put on the robe she offered with one hand, he took the necklace from the other. The crew thought you'd want this. Where did you get it? It was in his things, she said, as she took the clipboard that she'd tucked under her armpit to deliver the warm robe and the artifact to him. And they're about to be archived. No known next of kin. Diez turned and looked back at the door he moments earlier emerged from. That doesn't seem right. The production manager frowned and shrugged. Don't kill the messenger. I'll get you some food before your next confession. Do you want it, or should I put it back in his box of things? Diez's index finger instinctively ran along the metal set into the wooden cross. It stopped at the base, which was indented, smoothed. Put it with my things, he'd smiled, tiredly. No need to act or pretend. I'll take it with me. Thank you. As the loop descended into the tunnel and the automated restraints pressed against his shoulders for the hyperspeed trip north, Diez touched his hand over his heart, pressing his palm firmly against his chest. It was a gesture anyone on the other end of the security footage captured by the cameras would interpret as an outward sign of devotion. A priest in prayer. But Diez was double-checking that the cross was still there. He knew it was, but feeling it there reassured him. It was there, underneath his palm, and he had only one thought. Why on earth did Jonas have it?
Thanks for listening to this portion of The 49 by Andrew Kooman. New content drops for paid subscribers every Monday at the49.substack.com. That's the49.substack.com. On Tuesdays, we release new audio on all your favorite podcast platforms. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you subscribe and to share it with a friend. Thanks for listening to The 49.